is the end of the year and it is time for me to host my book awards! Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. This is a video I used to do every single year and then I stopped for a while, but I'm bringing it back. And it is book awards. So this is not my best books of the year video, which will be coming later in the month, but it's basically like shining a light on a lot of other books, or there's a few negative categories as well. Shining a bit of a negative light on some, having a bit of a retrospective on my reading year, and I'm very excited. I'm very excited to have another book awards. I feel like I actually should have dressed up in something like glitzy, like a dress, but I've gone for comfort instead. But before we get into it, I want to give out my award for best reading accessory, which is my Serious Light from Serious Readers. Yep, could you have guessed it? They are very kindly sponsoring this video. And as you guys know, I just cannot shut up about this thing. I love it so much. I love it so much. This is a Serious Light from Serious Readers, which is the best reading light you'll ever find. I have used mine for years and years and years. I love it so much. Serious Lights have something called daylight wavelength technology that replicates the daylight spectrum as closely as possible, which means it just feels, I cannot emphasize this enough, so natural in the eyes. It feels like a breath of fresh air. It doesn't feel like any other light you kind of look into, like I'm looking into my ring light. You feel that tension in your eyes, you feel that kind of like, ugh. Whereas this, oh my god, the light that comes from this is just the most natural light. Like when I look at how it lights my hand, it is just incredible in the eyes, and it just makes reading so enjoyable. It makes the words so much clearer. I find I read quicker when I'm using it. I find reading more enjoyable when I'm using it, and it keeps the cozy vibe of the room if you've got kind of like a dimly lit room, but it means you don't get eye strain. I used to get eye strain all the time. It really is like taking care of your eyes. I love it so much. And I have a code for you guys this festive season, and it is code MEG, and that will get you £150 off a HD Pro or HD Essential light. What? £150 off? Can you believe it? I can't either. It's an incredible deal. They also have a 5-year warranty, and currently the HD Pro has a 90-day risk-free trial. So you can give it a go, see what you think, but I promise you, you will fall in love like I have. So yeah, wanted to give a shout out to my best reading accessory of the year every year. Nothing beats it. It's like Ant and Dec winning best TV presenter for like 20 years in a row. That's how I feel about this. So yeah, I'll leave a link down below, make sure you check it out. Okay, let's get into the book awards. In an absolute surprise to no one, yes, I can't find some of the books, as we all know. I'm moving soon. We'll find them all then. Okay, first category is most surprising. So of course this kind of has to be a book that I wasn't expecting to love, that maybe I knew nothing about, that I read on a whim, wasn't like super anticipated. A lot of my 5 stars this year have been like 5-star predictions, books I thought I was gonna love because I know my taste quite well, and I haven't found a ton of books that I wasn't expecting to love, but there is one that stood out, and that is Tell Me What I Am by Una Mannion. So I read this for like a video I did reading award-winning books, and this one, I think the Dagger, I'm pretty sure it won the Dagger. We're following 2 perspectives really. We're following Ruby, who is a young child who lives with her father and paternal grandmother and is living a very isolated life, and then we are also following, both in the past and present, her aunt's perspective, her maternal aunt's perspective. In the past, the account of her sister being in an abusive relationship, the family trying to get her out of that, and then her sister then going missing, and the father and Ruby disappearing, and then in the present kind of dealing with all the after effects of that. And I went into this, you know, expecting nothing. I had never heard of this author, I'd never heard of this book, but this is like a gut puncher book. I think this would also win the award for like most bone deep sad book I read this year. It's very, very sad. It is incredibly well written. You know, I think from Ruby's perspective, this child that we see very early on understanding that like her nervous system understanding this isn't right. Like what I'm living in isn't right. Her father is abusive, but not in a way that I think a child can articulate. He's like controlling, prone to fits of anger, but he's not verbally or physically abusive. It's all through like coercive control and yeah, trying to isolate her. And also then seeing in the past timeline this family really trying to get her mother out of this abusive relationship, and the whole family coming together to do it, and it being like, you know, you have to go through the kind of the procedure a couple times because people often go back to abusive relationships. Like you're having to like really fight for this, and then you kind of know where it ends up with her going missing, and it's just heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. I sobbed reading this book. I think it is such a powerful book. I think it is so well written. I think it's so sharp. I think it's like a knife, this book. Poignant, very relevant. I loved it. I loved the characters. I thought it's really this character study, and it's all about the plot, and like, but not a fast moving plot. It's very slow, it's very quiet, but like the little things that you see happening throughout the book. I thought it was wonderful. I was really shocked. I absolutely loved it. Most disappointing is one I can't find, but it is probably The Examiner by Janice Hallett. I gave this 3 stars, so it's not like, it wasn't on my worst books of the year video, but I expect a lot from Janice Hallett. I have now fallen in love with her storytelling, her way of storytelling. If you don't know, she does murder mysteries, but all mixed media. And this one, you're kind of entering into this art course, and you're the examiner, and the examiner thinks there's been a murder on this course, and everyone has covered it up. And you've got kind of like the coursework, the emails, the chat logs between all these characters, and I just find this one very boring. It didn't do anything for me.
I'm going to sleep.
Chardonnay 50?
And the last 3.
The plot didn't do anything for me, the characters didn't, the kind of twists and reveals often left me feeling a bit cold, and they were a bit lackluster. And she's published a lot of books. I went actually to the launch for this book, and I think she'd published, like, it was more than a book a year that she's been writing. She is like turning those books out, and I love it, because I love what she's doing for the murder mystery genre. I love her style, and I think this was just maybe like a one-off disappointment for me. It was just a one-off that didn't work. The rest of her stuff I love. I'm very excited to read her Middle Grade and The Killer Question, her 2 releases this year. I have not read them yet. I know, shame on me, it's very embarrassing. But yeah, this one was just very disappointing and didn't do it for me. Next is Most Overhyped, and I am going with Orbital by Samantha Harvey. I just spoke about this in my worst books of the year, so I won't get on it too much, but this is like a book about astronauts in space orbiting around the Earth, and the very overwrought realizations they have that you've heard everywhere and everywhere and everywhere. And like Atmosphere by Claire Jenkins Reid had the same realizations, and I think did it in a much more interesting way. But I say Most Overhyped because this won the Booker. There's silence in the room.
Interesting.
This won the Booker, and I just don't get it. I don't get what the Booker Prize saw in this. I didn't think the writing was remarkable. Like I say, I think the like what it's sayingness, the message that it's trying to portray is something that you've seen 10,000 times and can be done in a much more interesting way in a book that has more to say, in a book that actually has a plot. This just dragged and was pretentious, and I don't understand how it won the Booker. It makes me side-eye the Booker Prize awards a little bit. And then we have Most Underhyped, and I've picked one of my 5 stars of the year. This only has 1,700 ratings on Goodreads, which really isn't a lot. And considering this author's first book, which was a hit, or no, not their first book, but I think their most recent book, has like 70,000. Like, more people need to be reading this because this is just as good. Story of a Murder by Hallie Rubenhold. Only 1,700 ratings. No one's reading this book. You all need to. You all need to. This is the story of Cora Orbell, who was murdered by her husband, and it's quite a well-known case where he's a doctor, and he fled with his mistress on a boat to Canada, I think, with his mistress dressed as his son. And it was quite a well-known Victorian true crime case, but all that we know really about the story is from him testifying in the murder trial, where he really got to like paint his wife as a certain character, promiscuous, ditzy, you know, causing a lot of trouble for him in his life. He got to paint her character to try and make him seem better. And that's really the kind of narrative that's remained. And in this, Hallie Rubenhold is giving a voice to Cora, and let me tell you, oh, it's so good. I mean, I'm going to speak about this book soon, probably in my best books of the year video. But the way Hallie Rubenhold researches these historical matters is insane. She makes you feel like you are in the room with these characters. She finds out their feelings, their motivations. She manages to piece all this together in a way that sometimes I'm like, how the fuck do you know that, Hallie? Like, wait, how do you know that?
So I decided to go and investigate it.
She manages to paint such a vivid picture, and I loved this. I think it's an absolute feat of like historical true crime with like someone who has put in, you know, probably years of research into this case, and it just shines through. Like I say, I love books where a lot has been poured into them, where there's so much like effort that's been put into them. And at the end of the day, it's women.
Women.
It's not really well known, but Hallie's going to tell you that like women saved the day and got Cora her justice. Her besties got her justice, and I just loved it. Every second of this was a joy to read, was so fascinating. I really took my time with it. I think I took like a week to read it. I would love to reread Hallie Rubenhold's books one day, because it's just there's so much more to find. It feels like there's so much, you're constantly getting this information that your brain is like, how do you know this? How have you found all this out? It's amazing. Next award is Best Plot Twists or reveals, and I fear I might have some recency bias here, I'm not gonna lie to you, because I have just read this, but when I read We Are All Guilty Here by Karen Slaughter, gasp after gasp after gasp. Like, I remember sitting on the sofa and reading a moment, oh my god, to be fair, the reveal that I'm thinking of that most shocked me, or like twist or moment that most shocked me in this book, isn't one to do with the mystery of this, it's something else that happened, so it's not like the reveals of who done it in this, but it was another moment. So this is, if you don't know, Karen Slaughter's book. It's the start of a new series and I'm very excited. It's this small town mystery where these girls go missing, and we're following Emmy, who is the kind of local deputy sheriff, as she works with her dad as well, who's the sheriff, to kind of uncover what happened to these girls. And it is dark and it is deep and it is an incredibly mature, intelligent version of this story. Yeah, there were a few moments, or there's like a moment about 150 pages in where the story changes, right? You are suddenly reading a different story than you thought you were. I don't want to spoil anything, but like there's a shift in the kind of story that's being told, and I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting it to be quite a traditional narrative, and that switch really surprised me. So it was more the switch and then something that happens not long after that I gasped at. Not so much the reveals at the end, because those were more just like kind of bone deep sad again, they're not like gaggy, they're more just like, oh my Jesus Christ, you know, just so sad. But the kind of twist in the middle of this I really, really enjoyed and shocked me and like kept me on my toes reading this book. So I would really recommend this. I think it was really masterfully done. And then I usually talk about worst ending or most disappointing ending. I'm gonna be honest, I don't I couldn't think of a ton, or at least like a one where the ending ruined the book. Like there's a few where I was already checked out and I was like, oh, this is rubbish. But I will say one that stands out to me, and I gave this, I think, again, like 3 stars. It's not a terrible book, but One Perfect Couple by Ruth Ware. I remember the ending just being so it was a Patreon book club pick, and I think we all agreed the ending was just lackluster. We wanted more. We were there were things that were set up throughout the book in this one that left you expecting some more things to happen at the end, some more reveals, and there just weren't. It kind of just petered out. If you don't know, this is like a thriller where it's almost Love Island, basically. These couples go to this island and it's going to be a test of their relationship, but there's a storm and then people start dying on this island. Very kind of, and then there were none. Yeah, I didn't love the whole book, but the ending was just, I think it ended up being the most obvious ending that it could have been without any added sauce. It's okay if you have an obvious ending, as long as there's a few little extra things sprinkled in around the edges. There wasn't any of that. So I remember us all being very disappointed by this ending. And then I usually have like best for beginners and best for veterans categories in this, but this time I decided to go with best for everyone, a book that I think everyone could enjoy, and then a book that I think is best for a very specific audience. So best for everyone, I am going with The Final Act of Juliet Willoughby. Oh my god, this book. I love this book. This is actually 3 timelines. We have got Paris in 1938, where there's a famous artist called Juliet Willoughby who perishes in a fire with her lover, but her lover is also an artist, and he goes on to be much more of a famous artist, and Juliet Willoughby is kind of lost to history. But then we are in Cambridge in the 1990s, following 2 art history students as they kind of uncover some of the works and some like family stuff surrounding Juliet Willoughby and are investigating it. And then in Dubai, in present day, someone is selling Juliet Willoughby's famous art piece that we thought was lost to history. I think everyone could enjoy this. This is a book that I think would be great for book clubs. This is a book that I think would be great to read with your friends. I think there's a little bit of something for everyone. There is like a dark academia kind of school setting. There is forgotten women to history, which I love.
Women's stories matter.
Yeah.
Right. They just matter.
There is like a bibliography that the authors, this is a husband and wife writing duo, there's a bibliography of works that they studied to write this book. Let me tell you, there's a lot of books. So let me tell you some of these. This will give you an idea of the kind of breadth of topics here. So we have on women and surrealism, on surrealist men, on country houses then and now, on ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics, on sphinxes, on Paris in the 1930s, on the art market, on Dubai, and then there's some following works on different arts. But yeah, I just think this book has a little bit of something for everyone. I loved it. I loved this book. I think it's just such a well-written book. I think it's just got a great pathway to it. And like I say, I love books about forgotten women to history. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I thought the personal stories that we're kind of reading of those 2 students in Cambridge, their personal lives is very interesting. The stuff to do with like country houses and rich, you know, stuck-up privileged people in England was also interesting. It just has a lot. It has a lot going for it. I feel like almost anyone could enjoy this book. And then we have best for a very specific audience. I'm going with Disney High by Ashley Spencer. If you did not grow up with watching the Disney Channel in the Raven, That's So Raven, Hannah Montana, High School Musical eras, don't read this. If you did, you must read this. It's literally a line in the sand. If you grew up with that or you didn't, like, that's going to determine whether you enjoy this or not. This is a history of the Disney Channel during the years I was growing up. Let me tell you, outstanding. Outstanding stuff.
It is brilliant American literature, and I don't care what anybody. It is. It should be taught in schools.
Ashley Spencer has written this so well. She's done interviews with so many people, like actors who are in these shows, but also directors, producers, like hair and makeup artists, costume, like every person who worked on these shows, Ashley Spencer has interviewed, and this was just so fun to read as someone, like, the example I always go back to, hearing the story I've never heard of how Zach and Vanessa started dating. They went into a bathroom together at this, like, party, and they came out boyfriend and girlfriend. The tea.
That's history.
I'm still hung up on Vanessa, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I know they're happy, but part of me still dreams, you know what I mean? These little tidbits as someone who grew up in this world, like literally the Disney Channel raised me. This was so fun to read. I loved every second of it. And I feel like Ashley Spencer does a good job of balancing like nostalgia and enjoyment as someone who loved these shows, but also like the, you know, darker sides of this. I will say Nickelodeon, there seems to be a lot of darker stories. I will say there doesn't seem to be as many dark stories on the Disney Channel. There seems to be a lot of people who cared for these kids, but also like the darker side of like just being a child actor and the pressures that come with that. I think she does a good job of touching on those moments without it becoming like this big conspiracy theory book, but she does touch on those moments, and I feel like she balanced the light and shade of this whole industry very, very well. I loved it. But like I say, don't bother reading this if you weren't a Hilary Duff stan or you weren't a Jonas Brothers stan. I am still a Jonas Brothers stan. Those videos of Joe you get on like TikTok and Reels, I mean, you know, I'm taken, but
I want to fuck you the minute I saw you. I'm sorry. I don't mean to feel like that, but yeah, he is hot. He is fine. I did want some of that.
I loved it. I loved every second of it. I loved every second of it. Cannot recommend it enough if you grew up in this world. And then we've got a few bonus categories. We've got best cover, or like my favourite edition of a book. I've got a few mentions here. I obviously didn't read Pride and Prejudice this year. I think I got this towards the end of last year actually, but this is the book I look at, my edition of Pride and Prejudice, and just think is so beautiful most often. Like, I love it so much, but you know, that's just me looking at it and admiring it. In terms of the books I read, it's ones I've already mentioned. I think all the books for these, yeah, these are things I've already mentioned, which is not as exciting. But I do really love the Final Act of Juliet Willoughby cover. I just saw the like paperback cover and it's not this, and I think that's partly fueled this bigness in it, because if you've got this cover, I love it so much. It's very simple, but I love like her on the stairs and just the vibes of it. I love it. If you had this cover, why would you not make it the paperback? You can put that on the paperback. Are you crazy? What is going on? What is going on with these people's decision making? And then I really love my edition of Story of a Murder, because you open it up and it's got Cora or Bells, or I can't pronounce this one, Kundegund. I might be mispronouncing that. The different names that she had throughout her life, and it's just very simple. It's just a picture of her, and I really like the kind of text style around here. I still haven't taken the sticker off, which is bad of me, but I really love this edition. I love kind of highlighting her. And then finally, let's talk about new fave authors. It's going to be, again, people I've mentioned, but I had never read anything by Una Mannion or Karen Slaughter, and these are probably the authors that I most want to read more from, that I'm most intrigued about new releases. Like, I'm definitely going to get stuck into this series, the North Fall series, but also I would love to go back and read some Karen Slaughter backlist. I know she's very heavy, very emotional, very dark, but I thought the writing in this was so mature, so accomplished, so intelligent, that I really want to read more from her. And basically the same thing for this as well. Just deeply impressed by her writing craft, the tenderness, the nuance that's in this book. That, like, this book is so heartbreaking, guys. She has an interesting writing style as well, where there's no speech marks, which I know isn't for everyone. I listened to the audiobook for this, which I think might have helped with that a bit. I don't know how I'd feel about it if I read this physically, but I just loved it. Also, actually, a shout out to, I haven't mentioned it, I loved The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst, and I'm very excited again to continue in this cozy fantasy series, as well as reading some other Sarah Beth Beth Durst. I loved it. I never read anything by Sarah Beth Durst. She has a wide range of books and in different genres as well. I have like a YA horror from her on my TBR as well, which I'm gonna read. But this is everything that I'm looking for in cozy fantasy, and a lot of cozy fantasy hasn't been giving me that. So I'm very excited to read more Sarah Beth Durst as well. So there we have it, friends. That's my little book awards of 2025. I hope you enjoyed it. We will be having a best books of the year coming in a couple of weeks as well before the end of the year. I suppose some of these were a little bit of a teaser for that, as well as some negative books as well. But I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your answers for any of these questions. If you want to fill it out down below, give me your most surprising, your most disappointing, your best cover, newest favourite author, all of the questions. I would love to know your answers for these from what you've read this year. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon in another video. Bye!